Today we're going to be learning about what constitutes a winning rook endgame versus a drawn rook endgame. We're going to delve into a Magnus position. We already looked at the whole game, so I'll post the video in the description below. But we're going to be delving into the intricacies in the endgame, right? You can speak for hours just about an endgame, so we're going to do that today. I want to warm up with this puzzle that I got in a recent game, and then I'm also going to show you an easy rook versus bishop conversion, just the most efficient way of winning that. So there's going to be 3 different positions. Real quick, I just want to discuss, right? The name is Balkandad Chess, so you might subscribe for the chess, but built into the cake alongside that is the Balkandad. So you're not just going to get the chess. You're going to get the whole experience. You're going to get opinions, right? Chess is just one of my passions in life. I have many. I love to learn. I love to debate. And I love to speak my mind. Chess is just a subset of what I love to speak my mind about, but you're going to get the whole experience, anything and everything that comes to mind. So if you just want chess, go to chess.com. You can watch people be buddy-buddy with each other, all friends, all togetherness. That's not what this is. That's not who I am. So you're going to get everything. So today we're going to be jumping into the analysis brought to you by, if I accepted fluidity for a day, a SDWGM, a super duper woman grandmaster. Just kidding, miss me with that social contagion. Have you solved this puzzle? So right now, white is attacking black's queen, but you actually don't need to move the queen, nor should you. Did you find the win? The winning move is rook takes g2, sacrificing the rook. The point is, after king takes the rook, okay, it doesn't, but if king did take the rook, how do you win this? Can you solve the checkmate in 4? The move, knight to f4, right, a double check. Where does the king go? Well, it goes to g1 and gets mated on g1 by the knight on h3. If it goes up to g3, can you find the mate from here? Did you solve it? You go rook here. Okay, they block, make the game go longer by 1 move, and then they get mated on g4. So a pretty cool puzzle, a nice thing to look at, these discovered checks. He did go king to h1. Now, of course, you take the pawn on f2. Point is, you're just clearing the diagonal. So after they take the queen, they get checkmated like so, right? Just they can't block the check safely. And when they move their king to g1, they still get mated on h3. So a cool warm-up. Now who's ready for some rook endgames? Let's go. So this is the game we reviewed. This is the position where Magnus blundered into a mate in 1. And we're going to delve into it. So in this position, we got queen takes c4, and we're going to look at that at the end, how he could have won that. But first, we're going to do the easy draw. So had Magnus taken this pawn on a3, for example, we would get a large trade leading into an endgame. Now, why is this a absolute draw? Well, the reason this is an absolute draw is because it's a rook pawn. So let's say this king ever marched over to the pawn. It could never hide behind the pawn because the board ends, right? It's an 8x8. It's a square, right? If it was a knight pawn, you would be able to hide and get in front of the pawn. Hope that makes sense. So we could play this out a little bit because there are ways to lose, right? It's never too late to lose a chess game. The best way for black to handle this is probably to cut off this g3 square. And if you push the pawn as white, you get your pawn split, and this prevents the king from getting in. All right. Now, what do we do? Well, whose move is it? White's. Say white plays a6. You don't want the pawn to become a queen, so you cut it off. And then say they go to a7. The only move you really need to avoid here is moving your king to the 6th. If you move the king to the 6th and it comes with check, they're going to promote and win. So you could go to g6 if you wanted. You know, that is a-okay. Not the best because you're going to get taken with check, but then it's going to be a 4-on-4. It's still a draw. So basically, there's just no way white could ever move their king or move anywhere, and it's going to be a rook on 4 versus a rook on 4 symmetrical position. So that's the easy way. Now let's look at how Magnus could have won with what happened in the game. So we got rook to b3, we got queen takes c4, and rook to c3. For those that didn't watch the video, can you find black's saving move in this position? Saving, because it is still winnable by white. It looks like you're going to lose a rook because they have 2 attackers over here. And if you move your queen, you lose the rook. But there's the amazing queen takes b3. The point is, it's a deflection tactic, right? If rook takes, we take this. We net gained a rook. No taxes over here. And if a takes b3, you push the pawn and you are going to make a queen. right? And they can't stop you. Like, they can't blockade that square because you take this guy and you're either going to take and go rook b1, forcing a queen, or they take, you promote, say they trade, say they don't. At the end of the day, you're still up a rook. So that's the point of that tactic. So what did Magnus do? Why is he still winning? Well, he takes another rook. He takes another rook right now. You make a queen, they trade off. All right, what is the big difference? Isn't this identical? No, this is the amazing thing about chess. It's a system of moving parts. You shift over a square by one, just a pawn, right, from a3 to b3, and it's winning instead of being completely drawn. Isn't that amazing? Beautiful squares, beautiful geometry. So first I want to explain in essence why this is winning. This is winning because it's a knight pawn. Meaning this king can go to the a file and get in front of the pawn. So say you're pushing the pawn and you route your king over to a6, it could hide in front and win the game. So that's the major difference. It's not so easy, right? White takes the pawn. Now let's get into it. We got rook to b1, rook to b6. All right, all good moves. Now black plays pawn to g5, expanding on the king side. Very good. All right, how do you win this position? Well, in the game, we're going to discuss at the end, this is what happened, right? Magnus played h4, and he has no winning chances because the king has no escape routes. It literally cannot go anywhere. And if it goes king h3, why is this the losing move? Whether you watch the video or not, rook to h1, checkmate in one. So the second he went pawn h4, there's no winning ideas. So what did he have to do? What did Magnus have to do? He had to go pawn to g4, a move that aesthetically doesn't look so pleasing to the eye. Right? Because it opens up a file to your king. Surely this can't be the best move. Why is it? Well, we get pawn to b4 expanding now. Say rook to b3 attacking the pawn. You have to defend the pawn. They give a check. People like spite checks. They go back. And you see, you're diagonally walking your king. You're getting closer and closer. It's like that queen versus pawn one away from promoting. You know, the staircase method. Boom, 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 zigzag, whatever you want to call it. Rather than doing vertically, we're doing it horizontally. Is there a difference? No, because it's a square, 8 by 8. You just rotate it about an axis. It's the same thing whether you look at it up and down or side to side. Very nice. So say check, king d3, check. What do? How do you win? You have to cash out. You have to cash in, rather. King to c4, completely losing all of your kingside pawns. You see, rook takes f3. You push the pawn. Rook takes h3. You get your rook out of the way to push the pawn. What's the best move for black in this position? I think rook e3 is sensible, right? Aiming at the pawn. Surely you can't lose a third pawn. Oh, you could. You could. Why is this? What happens if rook takes e4? Well, you just go king c5 and look, no one is stopping that pawn. They're just not in time. Say they go rook e1 to get behind the pawn rather than take and allow you to just promote for free, right? Let's put that on the board. If they take, you push. They can't stop you from making a queen. That would be an easy win. So let's say they go backwards, right? Rook's like guarding behind. How do we win this? Well, look at this. Amazing stuff. We go b7. Point is, if they go rook b1, you go rook b6. Newsflash, you're making a queen. So rook c1, the spite check. And there's many ways to win this. How would you like to win this? Well, let's say king d5, attacking the pawn, everything of the sort. You got rook to b1, king to c6. See, you have the a file to always hide. The best move, arguably, is for them to just take. Let's say they do it like this. You go here, here, here. It's just GG's. They have to take the pawn, you take. Their pawns are so split. This guy's a tank. If they go check, you just block, then you make a queen. And then you might be like, oh, but this doesn't look so easy. It's a 4-on-1. Yeah, it could be hard sometimes, but their king is cut off from the 6th. Neither pawn could move up. And if they try to run away with this pawn, this will just not work so well. You could go king c6. The further they push the pawn, the more nowhere it is going, right? You could even go here, push, rook here. You're going to collect everything, win the day as long as you know how to checkmate with the king and rook. This is a clutch pawn. But black had to leave it on the board because otherwise white made a whole queen. So that's the winning endgame. Now let's go back to the game and see what happened. So, okay, we got rook b1, rook b6, pawn g5. Maybe you could still win this. King g7, pawn b5, and then we got h5. So Magnus really had to go king g3 here, opening up the route for the king, doing the same exact zigzag method. But instead, okay, we get pawn to h4. Now, it's a sensible move typically, but the reason it doesn't work here is because white's king is frozen. We kind of discussed it, but you see it's frozen. Can't go up because of checkmate in 1. So pawn's a pawn at the end of the day, no matter how bad the structure is. The reason Magnus did this is because he knew he was going to end up chucking the b pawn. So he chucks the b pawn, and his argument is, okay, it's a 3-on-3 at the end of the day, but it's a pretty 3-on-3 versus an aesthetically not pretty 3-on-3. But again, the problem is white's king. It just never found activity, right? Endgames are more about activity than material count. And the king of whites can never get as active as black's king. Activity at the end of the day will crush all. So we got king h3, rook to b2. What's the point of this move? It was the only move. You didn't want to lose a pawn and then lose another pawn. But the point is here, their king is tied down to guarding g2. So say we got king takes h4, we get rook takes g2. They can never win this pawn because that will be a free rook. So Magnus, if he wants to win, he has to do something else. So what does he do? He goes rook to f5. Very nice. Caging in black's king. We get pawn to f6, consolidating. Nothing can be moved right now. And we get rook back. He's poking, he's prodding, he's trying to find a win. This was a nice attempt. Sneaky pin, e5. The pawn was being used as a shield, but it is a pin shield until the king moves. Then it's neither a pin nor a shield. It's just a move, a good one. Also guarding h4, not that that needed to be done. We got rook to a8, all right, getting behind the pawn. Black threatens checkmate in 1. Never too late to lose an equal chess game. We got rook g8, king moves. Again, why can white not take the pawn? Horizontal opposition, rook h1, that is check and mate. So we got king h2, stopping the checkmate, and pawn h3. This is a very important move. I wish I had paused before playing it. It's the only move, but why? Well, the point of it is you're splitting the structure, and again, if king takes, it's checkmate. I'm going to keep saying that because it's still a thing. So we get rook to f8, trying to snag the pawn with check. And here again, what do? Well, take the pawn. You're undoubling your pawns. You're making it a rook and 2 versus a rook and 2. They take with check. You move king g5. They go rook f5 check. And again, there's only one drawing move. You cannot go back because then your king is cut off and this king will make progress. You have to again get opposition, preventing their king from ever becoming active. The further back their king, the more drawing odds you have. And that's what this move does. So here he takes the pawn. You give a check, forcing him even further back to the first rank, right? Rooks on the second are indeed beautiful. King to g3. And there's just not much to be done here, right? If e5, h4 can get a little scary, actually can get a little scary for white. So he's like, all right, I'm just going to take the pawn. There's no drawing odds there. Now in this position, believe it or not, what do you think Magnus played? He played the move pawn to e5, trying to, definitely in time pressure, but trying to save his pawn. And he blundered just a back rank checkmate. What he should have done is, or what he needed to do rather, was just chuck the pawn. And then we would get this position, a king and rook versus king and rook. Doubtful either side would play for a win in this position. All right, pretty cool. Now, last one. We're going to be discussing a rook versus a bishop. This is another game I got against Country 404. Don't know what flag that is. But we get this position, and it's my move. What's the best move? The best move is rook to d2, just cutting off the king on the first rank, right? Kind of similar in pattern recognition. Always good to minimize the amount of squares your opponent's king has. Now we get bishop to f3, pawn g6, just making the pawn trade. And the easiest way to do this is just to get your king in, right? Get your king in on the dark squares because they have a light squared bishop. Don't mess up your pawn structure. Just don't even look at their pawn moves, honestly. And then you just get your king in and they resign. Why? This pawn's on a dark square. You're going to take it, and then you're just going to checkmate them or make another queen. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. We got some end games today. I'll post my Gmail down below. Send in any games you want reviewed for Friday's subscriber game reviews, and we'll go from there. I am working on the World Championship montage. It's going to need to be one match at a time because there is so many World Championship games, and back in the day, it was like straight bar chess. They were blundering left and right. So I'm going to start with the match of the century. That is Fischer versus Spassky. And we will go from there. I'll let the comments steer me as to which match they want next. Thank you guys as always for watching. Have a great day. Peace. Boom.